PT is the most prime profession in the healthcare field to be preventative.
Yeah.
And I think it's where we need to go, and it's where there's the biggest deficit right now that I see in America's health in general.
What's the 5 Ps? Do you remember it?
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
There you go. It doesn't matter how much money we get. If we don't close, it's no money, right? So no close is no money. I'm everything that I am because of my dad's death. And I wouldn't be as successful without his death. All right, well, welcome to the Jason Theory. We are season 3, episode 4, and we are coming at you with a very interesting, nothing that we've really kind of done in the first 3 seasons, but we're going to be talking about your physical well-being, PT, physical therapy, where it's headed, and the fact that everyone should be taking care of their body, and maybe once, 1 month, 2 months a year should be just get yourself hurt to get into PT sessions.
Amen.
Yeah. So Mo, give us a little, just give a little background on yourself, and then let's get into what I think is going to be super interesting because everyone is hurt at all times.
Yeah, that is very true. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
My name's Maurice. I'm a physical therapist from Wisconsin. Grew up in Milwaukee. Went to Wisconsin-Madison for my undergrad as well as my graduate school. And yeah, now in Chicago, been here for 2 years, and we've known each other for a little bit now.
Yes,
so.
In the Bucktown location, which is great. Revolution Therapy, which is just basically on the other side of our office and blocks away from my house. Mo at the moment has been working with me and my terrible back and my weak hips and all the stuff that old people have that have not treated their body the right way. And I'm not talking drugs. I'm talking about physically not done things right in the gym, and is also treating my middle son, has treated my older son, and eventually when my youngest son starts hurting himself, then he'll be there too, which I'm sure will happen. I mean, season starts soon. So James will be in for therapy, for more mental therapy than anything. So what I really want to hit on, which I think is really interesting, we're going to get into how PT has changed and how my son's basketball game has really changed athletically, because you just don't, no matter what you watch on TikTok or IG or these influencers on gyms, they just don't have the knowledge of which you have on the skeletal body, the muscles, and the things that you need to do. I do start to see a lot of people now that are pros that are broadcasting their workouts. And you look at it and you're like, this doesn't look like a workout. This is just so slow. It's so methodic, bands. And you're like, you see it. Then you start doing it and you're like, oh my God, this is really a lot of work. So what I want to first get into is in your job right now at Revolution and PT, what are the number one things that you are seeing people come in for?
So it depends along the age spectrum, as well as kind of who generally is coming in. Males versus females might have different pathologies going on. But I would say typically a lot of the pathologies I see right now, low back pain is a huge one. A lot of us have a more sedentary lifestyle, which can lead to a lot of low back stiffness, tightness, and leading to pain throughout the hips as well. That's probably the biggest thing I see right now. I do see a lot of shoulder pain as well. A lot of times I would say that as well is from sitting long periods of time. Exactly. A lot of us work with our phones in front of us, typing on a computer. A lot of our lives are in front of us because we see in front of us, right? That can lead to tightness and weakness in specific areas as well. Knee pain as well. With my higher intensity people. Okay,
and then when you get into, let's say 40 plus, it seems like it'd be the same thing. The hips, the back, knees, shoulders, those are like all the biggies.
Those are the biggies. I would say on top of that, tendon sort of pathologies, tennis elbow, for example. We call that lateral epicondylitis in physical therapy. rotator cuff pathologies as we get older. Things that are specific to the tendon, I typically see with the older population because our bodies get a little less stiff, and the ability for our body to retain water decreases as we age. So if you think about it, like a healthy tissue has a lot of water in it, has a decent amount of water content inside of it. It allows it to elongate and shorten. Without that water content, our bodies get brittle and get stiffer as we get older, and your body has a harder time reacting to the stresses and some of those forces being pulled on them, and it leads to fraying of the tendons. And a lot of people get Achilles pain around the kneecaps, shoulder pain due to rotator cuff injuries. Around 40, that's when those changes start to happen, and that's what I see mostly around that age group.
So for someone that is, let's talk about somebody that's basically doesn't move a lot, is not into physical fitness, doesn't really watch what they're eating, and is kind of just, your everyday, lack of a better word, everyday Joe. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, I want to take that first step so I don't spend 6 months with Mo, even though you'd love to see them. Mm-hmm. And what are the first things that you can do from, like we talked, we did this podcast before and the volume got a little bit screwed up, but I remember the first thing we talked about is, hey, listen, you get out of bed, your eyes open up. These are the 3 or 4 things that you should do before you even roll out of bed.
Yeah, I would say exercises that you could do right away for an average person who's sitting on periods. I'm just going to kind of generalize because I feel like most of our population kind of works from home or has a job where they are mostly sedentary, right? Loosening up the muscles of the low back and just getting your hips in general loosened up, I think is important to start your day. So lying down in bed, and I call them windshield wipers, where you put your knees and your feet together and you just go side to side. I think that's a great exercise to start, help loosen up your back. Another one that you could do very easily is bringing a knee to your chest, kind of hugging a knee to your chest and alternating that side to side.
And basically, let's say like 10 each leg,
10 each leg.
Couple second hold, come back down.
Exactly. You can hold for a longer period of time for some of those stretches. Some people just find it a little bit more uncomfortable. I like to move in and out of stretches a little bit more because I want them to be a little bit more dynamic in general, because we live our lives a little bit more dynamically, I hope, and it allows people to, I guess, be a little bit less stiff throughout the rest of their day.
When you get like a long hold, what is it when the body, because I do that when we do long holds, and all of a sudden the body releases and you get a little bit more, then releases and you get a little bit more. What is that happening? Do you, like, is that the stiff muscle, like the fascia that's just opening up?
Yeah, so it could be a lot of different things. It could be the fascia opening up. It could be the muscles opening up. If you think about it, I mean, you have skin that connects to fascia, that connects to muscles, that connects to tendons into your bone.
Okay.
All those things have to stretch. Sometimes it takes a long time, especially for muscles, to get a good stretch just based on at the molecular level of like the actin and myosin bonds. And I'm getting real deep here, but just the ability for the muscle spindles themselves to relax, the stimulus needs to be a longer period of time.
And most of the time when you have muscle pain, they're just all twisted up and contracted, and you're like in a complete state of like panic.
I would say it depends, but a lot of times when people are having muscular specific pain, they have trigger points, which are tight bands of muscles, which is exactly what you were saying. The muscle fibers get all tangled up on each other, and stretching, strengthening, getting the muscle to contract and relax and getting into stretches after that helps release that muscle spindle, as well as some hands-on therapy, which is the plug for PT.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could definitely get into that. When you do have a bad back, are you telling people that come in, hey, listen, I want you to sleep on your side, I want you to sleep on your back? I know like sleeping on the chest is not good, right?
Well, it depends. I have seen some people who sleep on their stomach, and have back pain because it accentuates the curve of the low back for long periods of time. If you think about it, everybody has a little bit of a curvature, or most people have a little bit of a curvature in the low back. And if you're sleeping on your stomach for a long period of time, gravity kind of pulls down on your bones in general and can cause some stiffness in your low back for being in that extended position for long periods of time. Sleeping on your side, for example, I recommend people using a pillow between their knees a lot of the times, or a pillow under their arm to help keep their spine aligned a little bit
body
better.
pillow's the best. I got one of those like 6 feet. It's all one thing. I'm like this.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps your spine in better alignment, so you're not twisted for a long period of time, which can cause stiffness into that twisted motion as well.
So like you're saying you have your 3 exercises. You get up, get your back warm. When you get out of bed, so I do the 3 that you said. I got out of bed. The next thing I do is put my hands on my bed and I just lower and start stretching my hamstrings.
Oh, yeah.
Because the hamstring is going to lead to the glute, and the glute's going to be pulling on the back. It's all kind of interwoven in terms of like pain.
Mm-hmm. And I would say most typically back pain, it can be mechanical specific to back segments, but a lot of times your body is going to compensate in a specific way, and you're going to have tightness somewhere else as well. The body's a kinetic chain. That's how I like to think about it. Just with my background in kinesiology, it's an energy transfer, pretty much portal for your daily life, right? If one thing is painful, you're probably going to have some tightness along that chain in different areas that can lead to the pathology that you have, whether it be back pain, hip pain, things of that nature.
So when people come in and they say they have some back pain, what are the first couple things that you, all right, well, if this is the back pain, where is it coming from? These are the things that I'm going to do at PT to start figuring out, okay, is it like for me, it was weak hips, like, or one leg that's much weaker than the other? How do you know, like, are there certain things like I'm going to do this, and start getting to where that back pain's coming from?
Exactly. So with back pain, I typically look at hip strength. I look at core strength. I try to locate where exactly somebody is having back pain, because some people talk about back pain, and I consider that more in the glutes and the hip area, or in the pelvis. So I like to look at one, locating exactly where the back pain is. That's first things first. Then I'm digging in, because with our hands-on skills, we can kind of try to localize: is that a muscle? Is that a tendon, a ligament? Is that a bony segment that isn't moving well? And depending on those certain things, that leads me down the direction of, let me look at hip strength. Let me look at muscular tightness around the hips. Let me look at the specific muscle that's bothering them in the back and seeing if I can hands-on release it through my hands-on techniques, through joint mobilization, through dry needling, things of that nature, to help give them relief, and then strengthen around the area to provide support.
What is, because it worked great for me when you did it with me. Can you explain to people what dry needling is?
Yeah, so dry needling is very similar to acupuncture. You use small needles that are the same needles that you use in acupuncture. They're very tiny. You insert them into the skin, different from acupuncture because acupuncture follows acupoints and energy meridians. Dry needling, from a physical therapy perspective, follows muscles, tendons, bones, nerves, and tries to cause a reaction to help release a muscle, bring new blood flow into the area, take out some of the chronic blood flow, and even influence the brain to be like, let me relax this area.
So you're trying to trick the brain into calming down and bring blood to that area.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like a lot of the issues, to fix them, you do all this, but it's also you got to bring blood with nutrients to those areas is a huge problem?
I see it as a huge problem in some of the more chronic conditions, I would say. If you think about it, like one thing that I use dry needling for a lot is tennis elbow, especially more chronic conditions of tennis elbow. A lot of times people are overusing their elbow with lifts and things of that nature because of weaknesses elsewhere. allowing or using dry needling to get some of that chronic blood flow out kind of resets the body and allows you to kind of start from square one, be like, okay, let's get into some strengthening and some stretching to help realign the muscle tissues in that area and the tendinous junction in that area to improve its tolerance to load.
Yeah, I mean, when I had my issue here and you were doing the dry needling and all, we were doing all this stuff, you most like this, the problem's here, but we concentrated here, right? Because the lack of shoulder strength was making me overcompensate here and then bring in the pain here. And I think that, like when you're talking about the hips and the back and the shoulders, you know, do you see those? I mean, I know to go back a little bit, are the hips mostly a man problem, like an older man problem? Like that's what I always hear, like as an older man, and I'm 50, they're like, dude, you got to make sure your hips are fucking good, on point.
Yeah. Well, I would say, and I'm generalizing here.
Oh yeah,
I would say typically men who are chronologically older are stiffer, right? Improving mobility is one of the biggest things that I think, especially men with hips, based on our structure, we have a smaller pelvis actually than women do, leads to tightness generally of the hips, right? So keeping your hips mobile, avoiding compensations through your low back helps keep your back healthier, helps your mobility later in life, and just allows you to do more of your functional activities without pain and stiffness.
And I think one thing that I never thought of and you brought up to me, which now seems like duh, is not doing double leg stuff, but you really want to concentrate on single leg stuff so weaker hips you don't compensate and you actually attack that spot.
Right. I would say like a traditional double leg squat is very easy to compensate in different areas because our bodies are very good at performing activities by any means necessary, right?
Which is cool.
Yeah, which is really dope actually.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really like about the human body is our ability to compensate. But for specific activities, it also can exacerbate people's symptoms because, I mean, if you think about it, if I'm doing a squat and my hips aren't moving well, you're going to move well in some different area. That's probably going to be your back. And it's very easy to compensate then through your low back. And those back muscles aren't meant to be in a higher intensity.
It's not meant to take that load.
It's not meant to take that load, exactly. So then...
The same reason that when we built up my shoulder, because my elbow is not really meant to do that load.
Exactly. So I think one of my big, philosophies in PT is proximal stability and distal mobility, meaning everything around the trunk, I call proximal, close to the body. The more stable we could get those muscles and some of the more endurance-based musculature in that area, the stronger in general you're going to be with the rest of your lifts because you have a stronger base and a stronger foundation in general.
Well, we talked about that today. My strength has gone through the roof and it's got it. I mean, we've just been here. So that's just nuts. And we have that stretches that you're talking about, and then this trunk strength. We're talking about obviously abs. We're talking about planks, side planks. Like what other things that people can kind of understand that are easy that they can do at home?
Yeah, I would say some of the easiest ones, planks, like you were saying, side planks. Actually, leg-based core movements I really like because
just like squats with no weights, just coming down, or
yeah, I would say squats with no weights. But even if you're lying on your back and just working like a bridge motion,
bridges, yes,
is one of my favorite more functional core exercises.
Men could do bridges.
It's not
just do a bridge.
Men can do bridges. That's one of my big things.
Yeah. Men need booties too. Because it keeps it all together.
I like that.
I'm just saying,
make booty school again.
Yeah,
for men.
dude. I look at these people. My wife's looking at this thing. She goes, "What do you look at?" I'm like, "Look at this girl's butt." And I'm like, "It's nothing sexual." I'm like, "Dude, I go, this is what I want. I want this booty." And they're doing bridges. They're doing RDLs. They're doing all one-legged stuff.
I mean, to take it back, that gets back to kind of that proximal stability piece, right? I mean, that's a close muscle to your trunk. It needs to be able to take the load so that when you're doing things like you're running, you're biking, you're not overusing the smaller muscles of the leg like your calf and causing injury to your Achilles and things of that nature. So I think it's important. I think it's very important to work on your core, work on your hips in the stability focus, work on your hip mobility as well to help decrease overcompensations elsewhere.
I know, and I think about Lee now, who's 16 and is constantly in the gym, and I'm like, dude, don't do what I did. I'm like, you don't want to be my age and like a board. Like, I think if this education, which we'll get into, if this education is given to people when they start lifting, and when they forget lifting, just in general, sports or whatever, if they could be given this, I mean, you're going to stop injuries. You're going to be able to have a longer career. And when you get to my age, you're going to feel a lot better. Like, I feel like I'm doing this backwards. I mean, this one-legged stuff that we've been doing over the last 6 or 7 months, I never did this.
Yeah.
And I was an athlete. We didn't do this. I mean, just no one did this.
Right.
They were just like, hey, squat, deadlift, bench.
All the show muscles.
Yeah. Like, and military press.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
all you should be like that. And it's like, it's just interesting how this has evolved. The fact that, you went and got your master's.
A doctorate.
Okay. So like, let's talk about how PT has gone to that. And when do we feel like I think that the PT people should be the people that are training everybody, right? Like, I don't understand, like, if you're going to be training people and you're at a gym or you're a trainer, I just feel like you need to have the understanding you have, because you have these people's physical well-being and you could take them in a direction they should be going.
Yeah, well, let me put it this way. I think they're good personal trainers. They're bad personal trainers. They're good PTs, they're bad PTs, right? So I've worked with personal trainers in the past. Shout out Nate, who are very well knowledged about just training principles.
Are you training them? You should be training them in terms of what they should be training people.
Yeah, well, I think
like a Yoda.
Generally, like a Yoda. I think generally they have their own kind of training that they have to go through as well, tests that they have to pass to be a certified personal trainer. That I think cover a lot of those things. I do think PT, to get back to kind of the preventative point you were getting at before, I think it's a good lane for PT to start getting into, working with athletes, working with people who are younger to help prevent injury further along in their career by building not only the strength and stability, but knowledge about general exercise training principles and things that they should be kind of focusing on as they weave in and out of their training.
I think about it because I think, Will had his bad hip, and that was the second time he had a hip issue like 3 years ago. And we did PT. We didn't do what you taught him, right? So then it's like, oh, his leg's too short. It's this. They put the heel in, this and that. After a month with you, no more heel. He doesn't have any problems. He runs incredibly, and you guys are just working on all that stability stuff. I just think there's got to be a way to cross this over where it's not just PT. It's literally like athletic training. I mean, I know it just seems like that's from what I've personally experienced and what I've seen my son experience. It's like, man, within 2 months, you're a different person, because no matter what you do, when you go to basketball practice or baseball practice, whatever it is, doing bear crawls and doing butt kicks is not gonna get you to where you need to go. It's these small movements, and I'm telling you, if you could see the smallest movements that Will does, and I do too, and how you do these things, your muscles aren't sore, your just body is fatigued because it's firing these little things that you just can't feel, but you're like, fuck, I'm tired.
Yeah, stability exercises.
Yeah,
right?
it's
crazy.
crazy.
Mean, they are they're burners.
Yeah, it's a different type of tired.
It's a different type of tired,
and it's a mental tired. Like to focus in on, I need to hold myself like this. Like the amount of focus that you have to train your body to do, And for a young athlete to really come in tune with how their body moves, it's huge.
Yeah, that's the exact point I was going to make. We call that body proprioception in physical therapy. It's your body's ability to know where it's at and your brain's ability to move your body in a specific way.
It's for real.
It's important. I mean, it's what people work on in training a lot of different ways with slow, controlled movements, right? I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of the times in our sessions, I'm doing stability-focused stuff, slow movements, before we get into our faster, higher intensity movements to help enhance your body's ability to realize, like, okay, this is a muscle I should be using. Let me get it activated before we get into these exercises. So your body already has it activated as we're doing these more complex movements.
Yeah, and it seems like it's not linear. It almost like it's almost like X squared. You get better, like exponentially faster and better, and like because I can see myself and Will, it's like it's not this, it's this, and all of a sudden you can do this, and then once you can do that, then we go this, and then we do this. It just seems like it seems great. Like it seems like something that I just don't think enough people. I guess you think of PT, it's like, oh, I got hurt, and that's not what it is. It's like you always want to be preventative. You don't want to be reaction, right? You don't want to react, right? So like, I'm just wondering how do you get that to the masses? How do we tell people, hey, you need to preventively work on your core, your hips, your shoulders, especially if you want to be an athlete? And forget athlete. We can even get into the fact, like,
it doesn't have to be
when you're older, right? Muscle density, all that stuff.
Yeah. Older women, older people in general, I would say, tend to have balance deficits, right? That's why you see older people using assistive devices like a cane, like a walker. Older women generally have a lower bone density than older men. Resistance training is very important to build bone density. Things of that nature where we can prevent injury later in life and, I guess, cut down on overall healthcare costs is, I think, PT is the most prime profession for that.
Yeah.
And it's where I hope physical therapy continues to move into. As it pertains to athletic populations, it's the same thing. Preventing injury before it happens, I think, is huge, and it's where I see, like, my friends who work in sports have told me that is where the higher level sports are heading already. I think we can start that even at a high school level, even at a grade school level. You know what I mean?
Well, if you're doing it right at that early, it's just going to continue to progress.
Exactly.
When you're talking about the older population, let's say we get to 60 and up, what are the main things that they should be doing? I mean, obviously walking is huge.
Yeah.
And then obviously good diet and stuff like that. But what are some of the things you know, like you're saying, resistance training, just getting a couple hand weights, doing some curls, doing just weight, like just basically body weight squats. What are some of the things that you think that these people should be doing?
I think working on squats is a very functional movement. Everybody sits, everybody stands, right? Not everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but to continue to build your mobility and keep your mobility, you have to use your muscles, right? Sitting and standing is a great way. Adding weights into your hands while you do it is a great way to not only work on your body's, like, general strength, right? Squats are working your core. They're working your, like, if you're holding weights, you're working your upper body too, right? But it helps build not only improve balance, but like I was saying earlier, that bone density I think is very important. And again, I'm generalizing here, but I feel like a lot of women in today's society, thankfully I see this changing currently, are getting more into resistance training, and I think that's
my gym is all women.
I think it's gonna make a big difference in.
They work out better. I mean, they're not. They, like, when I'm at the gym, I'm like, they're doing the stuff that you're telling me to do, and they're doing it on their own. I mean, they're doing all that core work.
Yeah, and to be fair, sometimes they come and see me, and we're working on the stuff that you're typically doing in the gym too. You know what I mean? So it could be very vice versa. For example, I'm going to overgeneralize again, but I feel like women are more flexible than men typically.
Well, isn't that the norm usually?
They typically do a little bit more. Well, they don't have, and I'm generalizing, not as much muscle mass, a little bit more flexibility, right? So working on the stability exercises, working on some of those bigger muscles to help offload the smaller muscles in their case is important, right? So there's yin and yang to it. And it depends person to person, right?
What are you seeing mostly on the shoulder stuff?
Ooh, when it pertains to shoulders, I think a lot of people, because of how we live our daily lives, and a lot of people how we traditionally weightlift, overutilize the big muscle, the upper trap.
Okay.
That can lead to a lot of different pathologies based on the upper trap's line of pull while pressing overhead, while doing rowing movements, getting some of the smaller muscles around the shoulder, including the rotator cuff, to help with the stability, decrease how much you're using the upper trap, getting some of the muscles around your back, like the middle trap and the low trap, help the upper trap do its function. But in a lot of people, it's undertrained, and the upper trap is taking most of the load, which leads to shoulder pathology.
And when you get shoulder people in, are you really saying, okay, let's pull the shoulder back, let's work on the rear delt? It seems like people just don't do a lot of rear delt stuff.
Rear delt, I would say rear delt, middle trap, low trap, typically underdeveloped, overdeveloped, chest, deltoid, the front deltoid and the side deltoid, as well as the upper trap. That's a typical pattern I see with people, and I want. I guess the biggest thing with shoulders is to keep your shoulders healthy. One, you got to keep them mobile, but you also got to keep your shoulder blade mobile too, because if your shoulder blade starts getting stiff, you're going to be limited in your mobility, because your shoulder blade is actually the thing that really moves a lot to help you get up overhead with your arm.
How about these people are now saying that you should be able to hang for 1 minute?
I think
that's hard.
That's hard. 1 minute is a long time. I haven't tried it personally, but that's a long time.
I get to like 27 seconds and I'm burning. Yeah. Can you hang for 1 minute? Look, okay. Of course you can.
Nice.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's not easy. It's not easy to do, but I think
I'm burning everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, those hangs are really, really good. Not only for it's a good decompressor for your back too. And I see a lot of people using that now to help decompress their low back. I mean, if we're sitting for long periods during the day, your spinal discs are going to compress naturally, right? So allowing time for your body to decompress is a good thing. I think those dead hangs not only hits everything that I just talked about, all those stabilizer muscles, but it's going to decompress your low back as well.
And then for we're talking about people that sit, how long should someone sit before they get up and stretch and take a walk? 30 minutes? They have the watch. We haven't moved in 45 minutes.
Yeah. I'm the type of person, I get up every 30 minutes and at least move my body side to side, try to stretch my hips out a little bit, stretch my hamstrings out a little bit. When you're sitting, your hamstrings are in a shortened position.
So they naturally tighten.
Now. They naturally will tighten up on you. Keeping them loose, just getting up and doing a walk across your office or something like that is good to just get your body moving too.
Because a lot of these people are obviously sitting in their office or sitting. I think I would be interesting to see the amount of people at PTs since work from home. Right? Because at least if you're working somewhere else, you're walking to the bathroom more than 5 steps. You're going around, and when you're at an office and you're being social, you're going to walk around and talk to a couple people. Oh, hey, we're going to have a meeting at this office. You may not think about it, but it's a 100-step walk or 150-step walk. Now it's just clicking what Zoom you're at.
Right.
It's got to be terrible, just being sedate like that.
Yeah, and I think there are positives to work from home, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge negative, I think. I feel like people are generally becoming a little bit more sedentary.
Do you get people that work from home and the things with their fingers and like this and like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would say Probably 50% of my caseload right now works from home, if not more. And
you think it's from work from home?
I don't think a lot of, well, I think it's a contributing factor. I'll put it that way. Sitting on periods, working at not very ergonomically friendly setups, like working on your couch in a position where you're all curled up and hunched over.
Oh my God, crack in half.
Yeah, exactly. Probably isn't the best way to be spending an extended period of time.
Oh man. When you have people that come into you and they're like, let's say they come in, they've got serious issues and they come in once a week. How do you deal with, do you ever not reprimand them, but do you ever say, hey, listen, you're not, I know how you should be progressing. You're not progressing. You need to be doing this stuff at home or it's not going to work.
It's a tough conversation to have. People who are being seen less frequently, it's very important to do your homework, right?
How do you talk to them? Are you just hey, you're not going to get better? I would freak out because I just don't have patience for that.
Yeah.
But you got to be somewhat.
Yeah, you got to be tactful in the approach. I mean, the way that I typically bring it up is they're 168 hours of the week. If I'm seeing you one time a week, I'm seeing you for about an hour. There are 167 hours that you spend that I don't see you. A lot of the times people want that quick fix. Physical therapy is something you have to work at, right? And it's not only when you see me, it's at home. It's within your daily life, taking the education that we try to provide and using it in your daily life as well.
Well, you probably got somebody who's between 25 and let's say 50. Mm-hmm. They got a lot of years. They've been going this way for 20 years and you're trying to send them this way.
Right.
On one day a week.
Right.
I mean, if they don't put the time in it, the boat's not going to turn.
Right. And I will say, generally, changing habits takes time too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times, like I said, it's not a quick fix. And a lot of times it's me kind of getting people to realize that on their own.
I mean, I know you guys do overall health. You guys do weight loss. You guys do eating.
Yeah.
Do you ever have somebody that comes in, let's say they come in, for me, I would come in in a 10-year period. You would see me about once a year, every other year, and it'd be from lifting or this or that. Hopefully, as I get the core going, we're going to be less. But do you ever just say to somebody, hey, listen, you can come in here once a year or once every 6 months and we're doing the same thing. We need you. I need you to start moving. I need you to lose a little excess weight. I need you to do this, this, and this, or you're just going to continue to have these problems. You have a bad knee. This is what we need to do.
Right.
That hard conversation.
Yeah, they're hard conversations. I think the hardest conversations for me to have with people are based on their general behaviors in modifying their lifestyles.
How do you?
Yeah, so
How do you go that route?
So.
Because you'd be more tactful than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically how I approach it, right, is it becomes a conversation on just generally figuring out, getting to the basis of what is truly being their hindrance to doing some of those things. A lot of people say time, a lot of people say work, and then it's brainstorming with them, okay, take me through your day. And then from there, it's I know you have some time in the morning, it seems like. Can you fit in these 2 to 3 exercises in the morning? Just give me 2 to 3. Give me 10 minutes during your day, right? And it's allowing people to see that small changes make a big change over a long period of time.
Yeah. Almost these are your tasks.
Yeah.
Once this becomes, it's real estate, making phone calls, doing this. Once these tasks become part of your daily fabric, then adding a task, it's not really hard because you do this as it is anyway. So let's just add this now.
Exactly. And sometimes it's me brainstorming with people this is what you should, you're working, right? This is something you could do at work.
Yeah.
You work from home. Is it possible for you to take 15 minutes during your work from home to get up and just kind of walk around your house or go for a walk outside if it's nice? Take your dog for a walk or something like that. Sometimes it's as simple as that to get people's minds kind of churning that, okay, it's not such a big change that I need to make. It could be a small change over that extended period of time in the day-to-day. scenario.
That's how I got Will to start lifting. I'm like, listen, once a day. I go, you get home at 4. You got till 8. Just give me 10 push-ups at any time. Just give me 10 push-ups at any time. And I'll walk by, I'll be going work or this or that. I'll puff with, you do your 10? He's like, no, I haven't done it yet. I go, just do them right now. And I'll do his 10 push-ups. I'm done. Easy, right? He's like, yeah. Now it's like, you do your 20? Yeah, I did them. You got to make it. It's interesting that people just can't, they look at, oh, I'm X amount overweight, or I haven't worked out for this long. And they look at where you need to be at the end of the journey. Fuck the end, bro. Yeah. Let's just get this first step.
The literal first step.
You want to have an anxiety attack?
Yeah.
Think of this point right here. Right. This is when I cry in the shower, right here.
Yeah.
But when I'm here, when I got a list of stuff and everyone's yelling at me, I'm like, what's this in front of me? Right. What's the one thing I'm gonna do right now?
Yeah, I think the point that you're getting at is control the controllables, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the big things that I feel like our brains are wired to think about the end, right? To think about what is your end goal. I think it's good to have goals, but it's good to have short-term goals too, and be like, here are the steps that I need to take to be able to get to that end.
Yeah. In real estate, there's a book. It's actually not real estate. It's called the 12-week year, and it's basically every year you can't think of I need to accomplish this year. It's too far out. It's too exhausting, and it'll cripple you. This are my goals for the next 12 weeks.
Right.
Small things, 3 things a day, right? And then when I get to the end of 12 weeks, that should be part of your fabric. And now let's hear. And then all of a sudden you're at the 4th quarter and you're like, I'm going to hit this, but I never even thought about it. It was all of this small stuff. That's kind of what I think about, waking up early to go to the gym. Eventually start to do cold showers, just slightly colder every day. Adding vitamins, eating well. It's just little small things, getting up, doing I never thought about when my alarm rings at 5:45. First thing I do is I do my windshield wipers, I do my pulls, and then I do the full bends off the side of my bed like we did on the bench.
Yeah.
Then I flip my body around. Wife is still sleeping, dog is sleeping in the bed.
Yeah.
And I flip the other ones. I get up. I drop straight to my feet and I do the crab sit and I just let my calves open up because that's where I get really tight. And then I just take my arms and I open up and just spin all that.
Oh, yeah.
I get up and I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And then big glass of water.
And that probably takes 5 minutes?
Yeah, not even.
Yeah.
Not even. And I don't have to hold on to 7 rails when I'm walking down the stairs I'm going to break a hip.
Right.
You don't want to break your hip, which leads to dying. Just stretch so you can walk. There just seems like there's this education that people are missing. I think even getting involved in youth sports and having a day where a PT guy comes in like yourself and says, hey, these are the things you guys should be doing. And if you do these things, you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z so much better.
Right. It's the preventative nature of it, right? PT is the most prime profession in the healthcare field to be preventative.
Yeah.
And I think it's where we need to go, and it's where there's the biggest deficit right now that I see in America's health in general.
Well, why can't insurance? And I know this is going to be more of a crazy thing.
Yeah.
But don't you think that insurance would say, okay, you get 10 PT visits, or you get 2 PT visits a month, or 1 PT's visit a month to go in, just like a checkup would be for your health, or going, hey doc, look at me, how are my triglycerides, this. Hey, let me do an overall body scan of how you this, and then say to the insurance company, hey, he's going to have hip problems, it's going to cost you God knows how much, this or this. These are the things I want to work on. Okay, let's work on this, and then eventually go that way. And then all of a sudden, your big surgeries are out of the way.
Right.
I don't need knees. I don't need a new shoulder because I did everything around it.
Right. It's being able to use the time that you have right now to not allow those things to happen. The preventative nature in general, doing those exercises, stretching daily, doing some sort of cardiovascular fitness, eating healthy, sleeping well, are all things that are difficult for us in our daily lives now. Insurance doesn't necessarily, I guess, take that into account with some of their just kind of their risk assessment. But I think it's one thing that could save them a lot of money down the line in the future.
It would
like
have
you
to.
were saying.
It would have to. It just doesn't make sense. Like, let's not teach somebody how to drive. We'll just pay for their car when they crash it.
Right.
There's no difference.
Yeah.
I know it's like a really outlandish statement, but it's the same. Let's
Yeah.
just not teach this so that we'll just pay for the crashes. Well, why don't we just teach them how to drive really, really good, and you're going to have less claims on insurance? I just don't really get it. It just doesn't make sense to me, and there's got to be a way to start turning what we do, in the United States to more preventative than saying, hey, listen, let's just let this crash and burn and then everybody make money.
And it's not like there aren't other professions already doing that. Like you were saying, primary care, getting your health checkup, your dentist you see twice a year, things of that nature. I feel like PT could fit right into that.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's got to be like, hey, twice a year we want you to go in for a skeletal and muscular, like look down. Hey, this is what's here. Hey, are you hurting when you do this? Okay, well listen, I want you to start doing this, this, and this, and do that, and we're going to check back in 4 months.
Right.
If you have any issues while you're doing it,
let me know.
Ping me.
Yeah, because I can modify.
It just doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't go that route. I know we hit on a little bit, but I'm gonna end on a couple things.
Yeah.
I first want to end on for people that have like my mom's older in her 80s. I know we hit on this last time. What should we do as kids of baby boomers?
Yeah.
Everyone's getting old. People are having hard times moving, this and that. My mom, bless her heart, still walks in the morning a couple miles. She just gets on a tread and she just walks.
Yeah.
I think I know we want to do some, like maybe sit down in your chair and stand up, sit down and stand up. But we went over that.
Yeah.
The walking is great.
Yeah.
Anything else in terms of they should be doing to really make sure they don't have that stumble? I mean, do you like them just being able to stand on one leg and lift up a foot a little bit when they're standing and just work on balance everything for the elderly?
Working out, you hit on the big three: cardiovascular fitness, strength training, balance. Balance can be as simple as you standing with your feet together. Some people have trouble standing with their feet together because your center of gravity is
your base is tight.
Your base is very tight, right? So that could be a starting point for people. Doing marching exercises. Some people have trouble marching but are out walking. That's, to me, seems like a recipe for disaster.
You mean marching exercises like high knees?
Like high knees.
Just slow high knees?
Slow high knees. It's a more dynamic way to work on balance that's very similar to daily activities like walking. Using hand support for some people is necessary. Use as much support as you need, right? And then start to slowly take it away. And
how about those slow walks that me and you did when I was fixing my hip with a weight on one side? So maybe like a little piece of a weight, and then just slowly heel to foot, heel to toe, heel to toe.
Yeah, that's working on. That's a great exercise.
I mean, I see it in the gym, but they're holding. I'm not saying holding the 70 pound.
Yeah, you don't got to.
Like
Yeah, exactly. You don't got to press the biggest weight in the
hold
in
a
the
banana
gym.
or something, or fruit.
Yeah, you
for
can,
an older person.
Yeah, exactly. You can fill up a water bottle and hold that water bottle and work on marching, work on that slow, controlled movement. It's going to help you with when you're moving in your day-to-day activities, being able to do some of those things while focusing on something else, while having a conversation. It's a tactic that I use a lot of times when people are doing balance activities. I try to distract them, try to have them talk to me about their day, because in our daily lives, we're not just focusing on our balance. We stand, right? There's always something else going on. We got to be, to a certain extent, multitasking in our daily lives, right? As we're walking down the street, like being able to recognize a red light and stop.
Yeah.
It's very important in our daily lives. And some people have trouble doing that, and that's what leads to falls, especially in the elderly population. So being able to do some of that dual tasking, I think, is very important as well.
The balancing, I've noticed, is one thing. Like for my mom, that's starting. I mean, she's 80. I think I don't want to tell her age. She's somewhere in her 80s, but I've noticed the balancing as they start to slow down is something that's really like, and I think that's, I mean, I don't remember the stat, but like basically when you fall and break your hip and you're old, it's a stopwatch. Okay, you're gonna pass away on this minute.
Yeah, it's a big mortality risk.
Yeah.
At that age. Yeah.
How about knee and shoulder replacements? Are you seeing a lot of those? And is the PT just crazy for that?
I would say I see a lot of knee replacements. I haven't seen a shoulder replacement in about a year, but I could talk about knee and hip replacements. Knee replacement, it's a journey for a lot of people, right? That therapy can take anywhere. I would say typically nowadays you have an overnight hospital stay of about 1 day. You start physical therapy right that same day, the same day you get the surgery. We want you up and moving. We want you using that leg that you got the surgery on. Doing things like the functional tasks, the balance, the walking, things of that nature to help keep as much of your muscle mass as you can, because that's the biggest thing that
The atrophy is
the
terrible.
atrophy. Yeah.
Oh man, my leg was like this big after my ACL.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, right. So being able to
But how does the
delay
muscle disappear in like a week?
a lot of it is the brain to body connection to fire that muscle gets weaker, and if you're not using it, you're gonna lose it.
It's crazy how fast it goes.
It's very fast. I've had 2 hip surgeries. When I had my hip surgery, my first one, my leg got extremely small very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's just it's due to its non-use.
You have 2 hip surgeries?
I've had 2 hip surgeries on my right hip. Yeah,
Oh my god.
I know. I know.
You have like a nice schedule of arthritis coming on.
Well, I hope not with some of this stuff that I've been doing.
Does the PT stop the arthritis? I mean,
age-related changes are going to happen. A lot of people, I would say, there are studies that show on radiographs, X-rays for people who are 50 and older. For example, like hip pain, knee pain. I would say it's around. I don't know the stat exactly off the top of my head, but around 50% of those people that so about 50% of people that get an x-ray of their hip have some sort of age-related change similar to arthritis. Not all those people have pain. Out of that 50%,
Oh, wow.
it's only like 25% of those people.
I'm like, that's so lucky. I'm one of the lucky 25.
But to be fair, like,
My arthritic pain sucks. It hurts so bad.
to be able to manage those sort of symptoms on a daily basis, some people don't even really think about that as pain. They think about it as their daily management, which may sway those statistics as well.
Yeah, I just always know that I have pain. But I will tell you, the more that I work out, the less pain I have.
And that's very typical for arthritis. The more you move, the better it feels.
Yeah, like if let's say, I will say like when my back went out and we're like not doing any leg work, after like 2 weeks, my knees kill. But then when we start doing legs a little bit, it feels so much better.
Yeah. Movement, motion is lotion.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things to say too.
I know like it's been a long time that I've lifted a body part when the body part starts to hurt, like arthritically, and I'm like, I haven't done this in a while. I need to get on this. That's why it's hurting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, give us some closing remarks on basically what people, should expect about like what PT is for you, what PT is for people. If people are feeling, hey, this just doesn't feel right, you should just stay at home and not feel right. Come in, you come in and see you. You're going to do an evaluation. Do you do the evaluation first, then they go to the doctor, or should they go to the doctor then come to you?
So physical therapy now in Illinois, you can be direct access.
Okay.
Meaning, depending on your insurance, you could come see me first, and we can then, if you need to be referred to a different specialty, say like I think you have a fracture or something like that, I could refer you to go get an x-ray.
So it makes sense to go to you first.
For musculoskeletal injuries,
Yeah.
I would say, cut
Because
out
you're
the
gonna,
middleman.
because you're gonna know and say, because whenever you go if you go to your general, the general is gonna be like, I'm a general, right? And not this type of general. I'm a general practitioner, doctor. I really don't know, you go see the specialist, or you can just go to you, someone that's qualified like you. So not like Tom, Dick, and Harry, someone that's qualified. And then you can be like, hey, this is my best guess, knowing, having the education I have, this is the doctor that you should see. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah. For musculoskeletal injuries, I would say physical therapists can be seen as like your primary care.
Okay.
I would say generally too, like, we do an evaluation that first day, right? It takes around 60 minutes, I would say, for most physical therapy places. For me, it takes around 60 minutes. We see the ailments. Like I said, I like to look at the full body generally. If it's an upper body condition, I'll look at a lot of things in the upper body, because the body is a kinetic chain, and I want to make sure that you are feeling right, not only at your site of pain, like that specific site, but you're probably compensating in a different area. So let me work on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is not an MD thing, like an MD, WebMD, or like, hey, hey, I'm hurting. Can you tell me over the phone? It's like you said, you're all one piece. You got to go in, you got to spend the time so that you can figure out what's wrong with you, and then send you to the next step, and then come back and be like, okay, let's work on this.
Right. Anything
else you want to share?
Come see me. All
right, tell us everything. Tell us how to get a hold of you, where you're working at, email, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, so I work at Revolution Physical Therapy, like Jason said earlier. I work at the Bucktown location. It's right off Damon. You can come see me in person. You can email me. Can we put like some sort of like my contact information?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So we'll put we'll put my contact information in the bio or whatever in the link, and come see me. Yeah, I try to keep a very like cool environment, very chill environment when we're doing, but we're also working. So I feel like you can attest to that.
Yeah, I've been going to PT since I was 24, unfortunately, and I think no one's ever looked at my back pain and say, you know what, we need to do this, this, and this, and it's working. It's been fantastic. And if you do have a child that's into sports and really wants to get good, listen, everyone thinks their kid is great, but everybody can become more athletic, right? And if your kid is extremely athletic, Mo's going to get them more athletic. I think that's such a missed opportunity for kids, is to really become one and understand your body, because you can want to do something. You can look at a move online, or look at what Ja's doing, or look at this guy and what they're doing. Right. You can tell your body to do it. It just won't do it. Listen, I'm 50. When I'm doing something, I'm like, I told my body to do that. It fucking wouldn't do it. Your kid can do it. Your child has to get into that. And I can tell you, I feel fantastic, but I can't tell you the difference that it's made in my middle child's life, in terms of like, forget about his agility and speed that's increased, and his power, but the fact that he's not going to get hurt. That's the fact that he's going to play a full season and not be like, I can't go because my hip is hurting, right? And we're all like, I'm telling you right now, a doctor told him his leg was too short by like this much, and that's the cause of his ailment. It wasn't. The cause of his ailment was he was not strong in the hips. That's what it was, because we got rid of all the other stuff she said for us to do. And since Mo's worked with him, I mean, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. You can call me and ask me, and I'll tell you.
I appreciate that.
It's incredible. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Everyone will be on. This will be, let's see, it's April. This will be in 2 weeks, mid-April. We're going to put it on. And if you have any questions for Mo, his contact information will be there. If you have questions about what Mo has done to me or to my child in terms of our athletic career, and for me, just getting me able to get out of bed and walk around and have fun, no problem telling you exactly what's happened and what's done. Thanks so much. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the button, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.